Since I'm all by myself up here today, you guys will have to sing really loud. Hi, Jude. Welcome to the temple. Welcome to the family. No, you don't have to worry. You just come on in. Welcome to the presence. Welcome to the family. No, you don't have to hesitate. You just come on in. Come on in and sit down. Yeah, I saw you peeking through the window. I bet you're wondering just what's going on. So quit just sneaking around. This is where you belong. And open up the doors now. Welcome to the temple. Welcome to the sanctuary. You don't have to worry. You just come on in. Welcome to the presence. Welcome to the family. No, you don't have to hesitate. You just come on in. Come on in and sit down. Yeah. Now did you notice all the love around you? And did you hear all those voices raised in song? I hope you catch yourself dancing and singing along. So let your body move now. Welcome to the temple. Welcome to the sanctuary. You don't have to worry. You just come on in. Welcome to the presence. Welcome to the family. No, you don't have to hesitate. You just come on in. Come on in and get down now. Welcome, come on in. Welcome, welcome, come on in. Welcome, welcome, come on in. Welcome, welcome, come on in.
Good morning. My name is Bob White, and I am extremely happy to be here and serving as your service assistant today. And welcome. Welcome to everyone, particularly any of you that might be here for the first time. Thank you for deciding to spend part of your Sunday morning with us. We appreciate you being here. Also very happy once again to have back Reverend Kit Holmes as our guest speaker today. She is definitely a member of the family. She's here so often, so it's great to have her back. Excuse me. Let's take just a second for an opening prayer and take a moment to connect with that source that is within us and within everyone on this planet. This past Wednesday was World Prayer Day, World Peace Day. It's always appropriate for a prayer for peace, but more so now than maybe in a while, with all the turmoil that's going on in our world. So we affirm peace. Peace among people, peace among countries. And though at times it may seem overwhelming, the lack of peace that we experience in our world, we know that we do have some effect. We can promote peace in our world, in our circle, in our town, our country, and have it spread throughout the world. We affirm that peace is possible, peace is growing, and we can do our part each and every day by being kind, compassionate, and loving. And so it is. Amen.
If you'd like to stand, we'll sing our first song, God in Everything. Everywhere I look, I see God in everything. Deep inside and all around me, God in everything. I can feel it in
While it might seem so, this is not my first time I've done this. I forgot to get mic'd up, and I blew right past the affirmation. Molly, if you can take us back to that page, if that's possible, just nod at me when it's up. Okay. We're taking our affirmations from our book, The Eye of the Storm, and this is week 3 of the class, and this is our affirmation. Together, please. What is happening to me is powerless to keep me from co-creating my greatest good. And isn't that the truth? I have a few announcements this morning. October speakers are set. Next week, Joe Kelly will be back with us. Kit will be back with us on the 9th and the 30th of October. On the 16th, Reverend Jack Harnish will be back for his second appearance with us. And on the 23rd, we hope to welcome back Judy Grimes. So we have a strong October set up, and from what Libby has said, I think we're booked pretty much up through the end of the year at this point. So she has done a fantastic job in finding and booking speakers for us. This coming Friday is finally the day for the special event we've been pumping for about a month now. This Friday at 6 p.m., Dick Mallory will be hosting a talk titled A Backpacker's Random Thoughts. I've known Dick for quite a while. He is very entertaining. He does have random thoughts, but they usually are very funny along the way. If you've not been to our amphitheater, it's back, there's a path from the back of the parking lot up to the amphitheater. The seats are large boulders which have been carved out some, so they're flat. That's a good place to sit. Some people prefer to bring a pillow or a folding lawn chair, whatever is best for you, or you can just sit on the stone and gut it out. There is no fee for this presentation, but their donations will, of course, be accepted if you choose to make one, and the proceeds will go to helping to offset our operating budget here at the church. The Compassionate Choices Group is meeting this coming Thursday at 6:30 in the Fellowship Hall. This month, what did I say, Thursday? Okay, Wednesday at 6:30 in the Fellowship Hall. This month they're listening to a podcast which is called The Benevolent Revolution, which is a presentation which will honor all of life, our sacred bodies, and the divine within. Everyone's invited to attend. And there'll be a brief 10-minute video at the conclusion of the service called A Life of Compassion, which shows how individual choices impact people, animals, and our planet. Mary Ann?
Could I just make a brief correction? That video we were going to, it was part of the Compassionate Choices meal that we're serving next
Oh, okay.
Sunday in honor of World Animal Day and the Beaches.
Okay, so that'll be the following week. And the following week, the group will be providing a plant-free lunch on Sunday, October 2nd. Okay, very good. Bringing an update on our kitchen loan fundraiser, we continue to make progress in the congregation's portion of the $7,377, which is needed to pay off the loan. When we've raised half of that total, or $3,688, the amount will be matched by a group of people, and the loan will be paid off at that time. It'll be nice from the standpoint that the church once again will be totally debt-free, which is a really nice place for us to be. With the donations received to date, we still need $2,888 to cover our half. And once we hit that, the balance of the loan will be paid. So I'm hoping that we will continue to receive donations for this. You can do it with a check, cash, PayPal, however is best for you, but please include a note that this is specifically for the kitchen loan fundraiser. And since I apparently am the only board member here today, I will give you the board minute, which in my case usually is a board minute, 3 or 4 minute. One of our board members, Paul Carbonell, came across an opportunity for us called the Employee Retention Credit. That is a credit that's offered by the IRS to those businesses, nonprofit and otherwise, that retained people and kept them working during the pandemic. We will get a credit from the IRS, and according to the accountants that we have been working with, we should receive up to $4,800 in a tax refund check from the IRS. So that's a nice little windfall for us, and we should thank Paul next time we see him for finding that information and putting us on the track. Excuse me. Now, the accountants did say it could take 4 to 5 months before we actually receive the money, but that'll be a nice little gift to the congregation once we get to the springtime. Let's see what else we got here. That might be it. No, that's not it. Couple other things. Within the next couple of weeks, you might see a new addition to our sign out in front by 5 Mile Road. Because of a very generous donation, we will be able to add what's called an electronic messaging center to the sign, which will be just below the sign that's out there now. That was part of the original proposal a number of years ago, but at that point, we didn't have the funds to include that in the package. But because of this donation, it will cover the entire cost of adding that, which is going to be a great benefit to people as they're driving by to see what we have going on. It's a type of thing that we can change daily, hourly if we want, for dates, times, guest speakers, special events, classes, whatever we want to present as an opportunity to the community. This is another way that we can do that. So that should be here within a couple of weeks. So keep your eyes out for that. In October, we will be offering a membership pathway program. These are 3 classes designed for people who are thinking about the possibility of becoming members of Unity Traverse City. There are 3 courses. Will be held over 3 weeks. And then if anyone is interested in becoming a member, we will have a special service for them to welcome them into the congregation. And finally, this is our end of summer potluck, and it could not have been more appropriately named. It is very unsummer-like out there today. We had planned to do a barbecue, but that's kind of gone by the wayside. But we do have plenty of food in the back. We'll be gathering after the service, and I hope you all will come back and attend because we got a lot of food. So that's it for today.
You can remain seated for the next song. I cast all my cares on you, God. I cast all my cares on you, and lay all my burdens in your presence. I cast all my cares on you, oh God. I cast all my cares on you, God. I cast all my cares on you. And even when I'm not sure what I should do, I cast all my cares on you, oh God.
This is the time for our prayer and meditation. And as the lights come down, I invite you to become comfortable wherever you are seated. Take a couple of deep, relaxing breaths. And attempt to leave any worries or anxieties or anything that you are concerned with today aside for a few minutes. Just put them aside. As the affirmation said, no matter what happens to us, it does not stop us from co-creating our greatest good. At times, however, circumstances and our human nature can make that seem unlikely. We may have challenges financially, health challenges, relationship challenges, or just feel totally out of place. When that happens, we can remember that even though we cannot control what happens to us in our lives, we do have the ability to make a choice as to how we react to it. When we have those opportunities, remember that Spirit is with us always, giving us the love, guidance, protection, and courage we may need to forge on in whatever it is that we are facing. As we enter into our time of silence, imagine having that power with you with every challenge and any challenge that you face, knowing that through God all things are possible and challenges are temporary, but the love and protection of God is eternal. As we return back to this time and space, we are thankful, filled with gratitude in the knowing that that love and peace and protection is with us with every breath we take, each and every day of our lives. And all we have to do is open our hearts, listen to that quiet voice within, and know that the Christ presence is always in us. So it is. Amen.
Thank you, Carol. Is that girl with the flax and... Yes, thank you. I don't know about you, but I just shifted into, I could just sit and listen to that for the rest of the afternoon. Thank you. And thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Ernie, for the music today, and thank you, Bob. Good morning. For those of you who may be new for the first time, maybe not. I think you're all looking sort of familiar to me. I'm Reverend Kit Holmes, and I'm really glad to be back with you once again. How many of you are participating in the book study, the fall book study of The Eye of the Storm? Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, it's good stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Causes you to look a little inward and to change a little bit and push your boundaries and your comfort zones, and that's what we're here to do. If you're not familiar with the book, it's a book by Reverend Gary, I don't know if he's a doctor or not, Unity Minister Gary Simmons. And it looks like this. I love the graphic on the front, Eye of the Storm. And the premise of this book, embracing conflict. Yeah, why would we do that? Creating peace. And it seems counterintuitive, and we're going to talk about that today, to embrace conflict, because how many of you just love to get in the middle of it? And I'm seeing this, no way. But there is some wisdom, there's a lot of wisdom in it, even though it might seem or feel odd. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I'm going to tell you a little story. There was three folks on their way to lunch in their office building, on their way to the lunchroom, and it was the marketing director, or marketing supervisor, the IT supervisor, and their division manager, and they're walking down the hallway and turn the corner to go to the cafeteria, and lo and behold, in the corner on the hallway, there is what looks like a lamp, an old metal genie lamp. And the marketing guy says, well, not every day we come across one of those, right? So, hey, I'm going to pick it up and see if it actually works. So he picks up the lamp, and it's a little, kind of whatever, a little rusty, a little tarnished, but he takes his sleeve and he rubs it a little bit, and lo and behold, a genie pops, comes smoking big genie up in the room and says, I am here to grant you 3 wishes, anything that you would like. I see that there are 3 of you here, so I'm going to grant each of you 1 wish. So the IT supervisor, she says, you know what? Gosh, I have always wanted to write children's books. I've wanted to have the time and space to do that. I just love that idea. I'm going to, I want a place in Maui. I want a place that everything's taken care of. I can just write all day long, do what I need to do, get these books out there, because I want to teach children about just all the beauty in the world, the diversity in the world. And so the genie says, your wish is granted, and poof, and off she goes, and you hear this little tiny voice, and she's like, oh my God, it worked. So the marketing manager says, well, if that's the case, I have always wanted to teach people to rock climb and rappel and mountain climb, and I love being outdoors, and I love teaching people how to get over their fears, and that's how I got over mine. I started rock climbing. So let's see. I want to be in the Alps in Europe. I want to travel all over the Alps in Europe, teaching people how to do this. And the genie says, "Your wish is granted." Poof, and off he goes. And you hear his little voice. Oh my God, it worked. And their manager is still standing in the hallway, and the genie looks at him and says, "Well, what is it that you would like?" And for half a moment, he goes, I want those 2 back in the office here after lunch. Yeah. So if you think about the metaphor in that, when we are in our wholeness, when we are expressing our oneness, when we are expressing our Godness, what we're here to do, we get those big moments of, man, I'm doing it, I'm in it, I'm rocking it, it's happening. Wow, this stuff really works. This stuff meaning spiritual law. I'm in the flow, it's rocking and rolling, and then something goes yank, or so it seems. And the first thing we do is we say, life is what is happening to me. Something outside of my control just yanked me right back out of my bliss and put me right back here in the middle of a bunch of stuff I don't want to be in. Yes, sounds familiar, right? So that's what this book is talking about. This is the eye of the storm, in the letter I. We are in this constant paradox and what are called in the book the four winds of conflict. And it all has to do with how we react. And thank you for that prayer, Bob, and thank you for that meditation. React and respond to the conditions of our lives. And the affirmation is about how we are always co-creating, we are always revealing the truth of who we are. And these conditions and circumstances and appearances do not have the power to knock us off track unless we let them. They don't have the power to knock us off track unless we become aware of them, that they are knocking us off track. That is this part of living in our Godness. I'll read that in a second, but the idea here is conflict. We're like, why do we have to have it? Why do we have to have resistance and so forth? It points to those areas in our lives, in ourselves, where we are not believing, we are not resonating with, we are not at the same vibration of our wholeness. In other words, the simple way is we think there's something wrong with us. We think we are disconnected from our source. But the idea here is, in this book, is that conflict does not come at us. Okay? It is, and this is the chapter, I'm just catching you up a little bit because today we're actually talking about communion, but I'm just catching you up a little bit about the premise of this book. And he says, it is important to remember that conflict does not come to us, it comes from us. It arises from within as an effect of two competing intentions. We have a compelling desire to feel safe and okay and valued, and the other is that we have the drive to fulfill the soul's purpose. The soul's purpose is to bring us into the fullness of being as a creation of God in those areas of life where it's not happening. Yeah. Therefore, the soul's intention lives out of the Spirit of God. The soul's top priority is to bring us into relationship with those aspects of self that live outside of wholeness and a sense of authentic being. This often happens when we enter into relationships with the kind of individuals or experiences that threaten us the most. We are afraid because we don't feel safe. We don't see God at this point in our experience. How many of you have ever been in a relationship with someone or someones that have pushed every last dang one of your buttons? And what is the first thing that we are conditioned to do? Our first reaction is to push away, pull inward, step away, walk away, and go, ooh, all their fault. Oh, guess what? You've heard that people in our lives are the reflection of in those things in us that we need to give a little more attention to heal. And boy, is it uncomfortable, is it not? I had an experience, I've had many experiences with people in my life where my first reaction is, it's their fault. And the four winds of conflict, as Gary Simmons talks about, those conflicting places in us are separations. So the first thing that happens with us, someone comes at us with their opinion or their thoughts about us, their judgments about us. And it's this sense of separation. We move away from the idea that we're divine or they're divine. They've said something to us that has poked us, pushed our button. We've got a trigger going on. If we are healed with that trigger, it rolls right off, does it not? If we are in our wholeness around that opinion, it just doesn't do anything. We just go, oh, okay, that's your opinion, right? But if there is that little bit of us that is out of balance, out of wholeness, out of thinking, oh gosh, yeah, well, maybe, oh God, maybe there's something right. The first thing we do is we separate, we want to step back. And then we go into these other four winds: the defensiveness, the competition, the misperception. I believe it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, "Your opinion of me is none of my business." And it sounds harsh, but it is the truth, because when someone brings their opinion or their judgment to us, it has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with all of the filters and all of their perceptions and all of those things that they have carried through their entire lives, where they may not be feeling whole in themselves. And so they're coming to you, coming to us and saying, you did this, you made me, you make me do this. We don't make anyone feel or do anything that they do not agree with. Let me say that again. We do not, and no one does it to us. If you take offense, that is an action that you have chosen to take. Take a breath. It has nothing to do with us until we engage with it. And the reason we engage with it is that there is some belief within us that says, uh-oh, they might be right. Uh-oh, 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 I'm not smart enough. Uh-oh, oh gosh, I didn't work hard enough. I didn't put enough hours in. Oh my gosh, I didn't do this. Oh my gosh, I didn't buy roses for the anniversary. I forgot. I was human. I made a mistake. But I take it on. So we get embroiled with it. We get really, really tangled with it. And then the next thing we do is that we start saying, they are against us. They're out to get me. We get a little paranoid, don't we? And then the next thing we do is we start getting into competition with it. Because then we're at a battle of wits. I'm going to prove to you that your opinion of me is wrong. I'm going to give you all of the reasons and all of the facts and all of the figures that tell you why you're wrong. How many of you love being told that you're wrong? And what is our response to it? We push right back. Do we not? I'm going to defend my position, and I'm going to tell you why I'm right. And then we keep amping it up and amping it up and amping it up. And all of it is this giant swirling mishmash of defensiveness. And when we are in any one of those four winds of conflict, it takes us right out of our wholeness. It takes us right out of our ability to be at peace. You cannot be offering somebody something good when you've got your fists clenched. It is physically, energetically impossible. You cannot be in a heart space when all of your defenses are up and you are in battle with somebody trying to prove your worth, instead of leaning into the eye of the storm. And the eye of the storm is that center place. If you think about the hurricane, the center of the eye is where it is the most calm. This is where I'm talking about where it seems counterintuitive, right? It's like it's swirling, it's swirling, it's swirling. Well, one of us has got to battle it out until somebody says you're right and I'm wrong, and everybody, goes away like, well, that didn't fix anything. Nobody is at peace Nobody is grounded in the flow of God. Everybody's just walking away going, man, God, that really, really, really didn't feel good. Even when we think we're right and we've proven our point, we still walk away going, yeah, but it's kind of a hollow victory. I don't feel like I won anything, really. So moving to the eye of the storm is a conscious choice. It is that place of peace. It is the place of the peace that is inherent in all of us. Why? Because God is inherent in us. We are divine beings. We come into the world with that at our center. We condition it out of the way, just the process of being human on this planet. We come in dependent on our caregivers. We practice that conditioning. And as soon as we start getting the messages from those influences around us when we're in our formative years, we take those things on. It's a natural process, and it takes us out of and further way down the road unless we are getting messages affirming that we are indeed divine, that we are inherently creative, that we are supplied and supported and infinitely and unconditionally loved. We keep building that swirl around us. And it gets harder and harder and harder to kind of get to the middle unless we are practicing consciously getting back to peace. When we're in conflict with someone and they're coming up to us and they're saying, hey, da-da-da-da-da, and we take it on and like, you hurt my feelings, all of that business, we go immediately out of the center into the swirl, and what happens is we start looking outside to get to where we should be on the inside. That's where codependency comes from. It just is a natural outpicturing and outflow of the way that we are brought into the world, unless we are given the message that we are inherently divine and loved and supported. Making sense? Yeah. What does it say here? This is a really great book. This was, by the way, when I was in ministerial school, this was used as a text in 2 different classes. And it's that, it's not that thick of a book. There's not a lot to read, but there's a lot to read. There's a lot to lean into. So when we're not in the center, when we're not in the eye, we are not coming from a place of authentic being. And it says in here, authentic being leads to conscious doing. Conscious doing comes out of who you are as the expression of God. If what you do is not connected to the intention to serve God, it is not conscious, it is conditioned. In other words, for some activity to be considered conscious, it must be related to your spiritual purpose and living out of that intention. If you're not doing that, which is the intention of the universe to fulfill itself through you as the expression of God, whatever that looks like in the context of your authentic self, then what you do is not conscious doing, but conditioned doing. That's a lot to take in, is it not? But the idea here, and here in all of this, with our spiritual practices, is getting back to God, period. There are so many different ways of doing this, and so many things over centuries, and especially in New Thought, of simplifying the way to get back to God. We know that meditation is one of those things, the key thing to quieting the mind out of doing, unconscious doing, to very conscious, intentional living. Intentional living takes work. That's why most people don't do it. We are creatures of habit. That is the conflict in us. We want to be comfortable and safe and feel like we belong. And our soul's purpose is always pushing us to be more, to be greater, a greater expression of itself. And so it's like, no, I don't want, I just learned this. Dang it, I'm comfortable. And now I got to grow again. And I'm saying that from absolute experience. I had a couple of those days last week. I am really, really tired of growing. I'm really tired of healing and, looking at my patterns and being self-aware and looking at all the messes my unawareness created in my own life. Nothing came at me happened to me that I didn't have a belief system underneath that I didn't agree with. That's what caused the messes in my life. I'm cleaning them up, thank goodness, as best I can, giving myself a break, remembering my inherent godness, so that when someone comes at me that I disagree with, it is really okay for me to disagree with them. I don't have to take on their belief or their opinion about me. It's still work. It's challenging. I still, in a heartbeat. I did this morning. I'm running through my talk in my head, and I get to one of those traffic circles down on the south side of town, and there was nobody coming, and the person in front of me stopped. And all of my godness went right out the window because I'm like, go! Has that happened to you? The intentional, that's it. I mean, it's like every moment, but I caught myself and I laughed at myself. That's the shift. I didn't beat myself up for it. I went, oh, wow. Wow, look at that. I have no idea what that person's story was. They might have had a wreck somewhere in the past going through a traffic circle. Maybe they've never even encountered a traffic circle before, and they just didn't know what to do. There are no instructions. I mean, there's a yield sign, but yikes. I don't know what that story is, and it doesn't matter. That person doesn't care. That person doesn't know me. They don't know what I'm sitting behind them calling them names about. And it's the same with us. To not take that on, to be so grounded and centered in knowing, in trusting. Trust is an action. Trust is a conscious action. To say, everything's okay. I'm living, I'm breathing, my heart is beating. I woke up this morning. There must be something good happening today that happened. I woke up. It's crazy what we can get ourselves twisted into, the storms that we put ourselves through. Is it not? And the thing about the conditions of our lives and how we talk about getting back to that center, it's just like turning away from of someone else's opinion of us and turning away from the conditions of our lives. When we live from truth, which is we live in an infinitely abundant and generous and kind universe. When we get outside of that I, we are living a conditioned-based life. Our practice is to stay in the center as best we can. To see, and this is where the communion comes in, communion meaning a common, you're here in community today. You're having communion with the potluck later. There's communion between musicians when they come to together for a common purpose. Our whole experience of life is about connecting, about being in communion with each other. Why? Because everybody has their own experience. You have all your filters, everything that you've brought with you from your entire life. You have your own worldview, your own perspective of life. And instead of us being combative about that differing view, we can go right back to that childlike innocence and curiosity to say, wouldn't that be interesting to know about that? To know about it doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It's another perspective. It's just another perspective. It is just information. We are the ones that give it a good or a bad meaning, an offensive or a receptive meaning. But all of it, the conflict that brings us to peace is practicing recognizing that at the heart of it, this is Spirit's way of saying, here are the places you are out of alignment with peace in your own life. The peace song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. Every Sunday, this service, and many, many churches and centers, spiritual centers around the world, close their services every Sunday with, Let There Be Peace on Earth. And what is the next line? And let it begin with me. We can scream at the top of our lungs all day long about wanting world peace, but if we are at war within ourselves, all that screaming is just noise. Our work, and it is worth it. I am here to tell you, it is worth it. Our work is to find our inherent divinity. Find that place within ourselves. Set aside the idea of however many people in your life told you that you would be struck down if you said you were divine, or that you would go to hell, or your heresy, or whatever it is, they're going to burn you at the stake for saying, I got a little piece of God in me. Someone else's opinion of you is none of your business. Your business, our business, is to find that place in us that has never been, that it is that place where peace that passes all understanding is knowing there is a place. It has never been harmed, it has never been betrayed, it has never been abandoned, it has never been hurt, because it is that seed of God. Our work is to go in and remember that it's there. It is not ever gone from us. It is always there. It is there every minute of your life, and in some belief systems beyond this life. Turn entirely away from the condition. That was a directive of Ernest Holmes from Science of Mind. Emmett Fox, The Golden Key, put your mind entirely on God. There's all these different ways, simple ways. When the monkey mind starts spinning, take a breath, breathe in, say, I breathe in God, I breathe out confusion. This is my mantra. I think I've shared this with you many times before. I breathe in God, I breathe out anxiety. I breathe in God, I breathe out strife. I breathe in God, I breathe out confusion or chaos or angst or whatever it might be. Because that breath, that conscious breath, turns our mind to God and away from all of the conditions, circumstances, and appearances going on in our lives, that most of which we do not have any control over. Many of you are probably familiar with the serenity prayer that comes out of 12-step traditions. The traditional one is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And there's modified versions of that in other fellowships. One that I'm particularly fond of that requires the work. But it is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that one is me. And you can do it every day. I do it every day. I use that one a lot. Everything exists in infinite potential, in infinite possibility. We have the ability in our conscious minds to speak to our unconscious minds and to our hearts to say, I can let go of this. Carol chose that song. I wrote it down. What was the name of it? I cast away all my cares to God. We have my dad's mom. My dad says it a lot now. I hear him say it. We kiss it up to God. I love that. How simple and how beautiful. I can't do anything about it, so I'm going to kiss it up to God. I do what's mine to do. I do what I'm guided to do, what I can take care of, but I let the rest go. That's how we embrace conflict and create peace. So I invite you this week to look within with gentleness, with a kind eye, with an open heart. And maybe if you're courageous enough, and maybe you already do this, to look in the mirror when you get up in the morning and say, hey, God. And do that every day. Do it a few times a day. Do it with whoever is in front of you, whether they are opinionating on you or not. In your mind, just look at them and say, hey, God. Hey, God. Hey, God. Hey, God. Thanks for pointing me in the direction of the places I know I need to grow. I see the divinity in you. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. I love you all dearly. Namaste.
Is there anyone else here besides me that thinks Kit was talking directly to you? I kind of thought so. You always have a way of doing that. It's phenomenal. Thank you for that. Okay. It's here somewhere. There it is. This is our time of offering, a time to share our financial gifts with the ministry. As children of a loving God, we live in the light of abundance, deeply grateful for all that has been given and all that is to come. We embrace the good that God provides with joy and thanksgiving. The words to our prosperity blessing are on the screen together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Mother, Father God. Thank you. And so it is.
So I came to the fork of a river, and I didn't know which way I should go. I had no map, no compass, no driver, precious little information to show. It can be hard in this life to make decisions, and it's an altogether common thing to fail. But as I surveyed my current situation, I decided to just go ahead and sail. There is no one way, there is no foolproof plan, no fateful final chance. I just wake up each day and do the best I can, and when I hear the music dance, I confess I get confused quite often. Seems sometimes wake up each day and do the best I can. And when I hear the music dance, there is no one way, there's no foolproof plan, no fateful final chance. I just wake up each day and do the best I can. And when I hear the music dance, there is no one way, there is no foolproof plan, no fateful final chance. So just wake up each day and do the best you can. And when you hear the music dance, when you hear the music dance, when you hear the music dance.
I'd like to once again thank the somewhat abbreviated music team today. You guys did a great job. Thank you, AJ, for sitting in. Once again, I'd like to welcome anybody who is here for the first time. We have packets of general information available for you from the ushers in the back if you choose to pick those up. We'd love to have you learn more about our ministry here. There will be prayer chaplains available, usually one here and one out in the hall for anyone who feels the need for individual prayer today. And why don't we go ahead and form our circle for our closing. It's always good to see old friends, not age-wise, but just known for a while. Okay. Oh, let's take just a second for our closing prayer. We have gratitude for this opportunity today to think of the different ways in which we have the opportunity to grow. We set an intention that we will take what we have felt today, the love, the togetherness, out into the world with us and spread that to people we come across and come in contact with this week. And try to stay in that eye of peace and spread that to the world. Amen. At this time, if you have any prayer requests for any people or situations or anything else that you would like to release, go ahead and whisper or say the name of the person or the situation into the circle. We now release these prayers into the hands of God without any expected outcome, knowing that everyone is moving towards their greatest and highest good. And we send it off with our prayer for protection, which is on the screen. Together, the life of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of